Hi, as noted, I'm Kirsten Luxbacher. I'm the agricultural attaché for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's overseas office in Berlin, Germany. My office covers uh, in addition to Germany, the Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, Slovakia, and Slovenia. And today I have my team from Germany and Czech Republic on the call today. So I'll just recognize them, and throughout the presentation, different members of the team will jump on. So we have Sabina Lieberts from the Germany team, Sabina Lieberts, Antonia Rudolph, Jessica Loser, and Ksenia Bailinska. And from Czech Republic, we have Martina Chlavačková. So I'll just get started and I will share my screen. Let me know if there's any issues with what you can see there. So I'll just say that if you're unfamiliar with the Foreign Agricultural Service, we are a U.S. government agency, part of U.S. Department of Agriculture, that links U.S. Agriculture to the world. And our mission is to enhance export opportunities for U.S. farmers and to achieve global food security. So we have about 100 offices covering approximately 180 countries around the world. And we achieve our objectives overseas by working to improve market access for U.S. agricultural products. We develop new markets and maintain mature ones. And we also try to increase competitiveness of U.S. agricultural products in the global market. And in middle income and developing countries, we also provide technical assistance. You can see here the offices that FAS has in Europe. The ones with a star is where there's an American officer like myself, but the rest of them all have staff, and we cover the entire region, the entire Europe region through these offices. You can access them and get information about them in the link I have on the slide. So yeah, if you want, you can contact us for any number of reasons, but I think ones that are common are if you want assistance in entering the market, we have marketing teams that will be able to provide you with information to do that. In addition to working with either your state Department of Agriculture and the different, they're called state and regional trade groups. It would be WUSADA, the Western U.S. Trade Association for California. Another reason that popular reason for countries to reach out for us is if you have something stuck in the port or some kind of issue with getting your product into the market. So always feel free to reach out to us in those cases. Another thing that our office does is we provide market information. So we produce a number of publicly available reports that you can reference when you're interested in exploring a market or reviewing a market that you're already in. And we have sector-specific exporter guides. We have reports that go over production, supply, and demand of key commodities. We do market briefs like on specific products. And we also have some policy reports on topics like biotechnology and regulations you would need to comply with, organic agriculture, et cetera. So some of these are country specific, but then there's also many EU level reports that are coordinated with all of the other member states, all of the other offices in the region. So, some might be like yeah, so I guess what I'll just say on this page is that some other reports of interest to the group might be based on what I've seen that you produce are the EU level stone fruit reports. We have a fresh deciduous fruit report, a food and agricultural import regulations country and certificate report, and an exporter guide. So those are all top ones to check out. If you could move on to the next slide. And then, so we also have FAS, the Foreign Agricultural Service also has the Global Agricultural Trade Systems system. And if you want to pull your own, if you want to see the kind of products, how much of your product is exported to Germany or another country in the EU or just the EU in general, you can use this resource to run trade numbers. And it's accessible through the fas.usda.gov website. And all you have to do is click on the data and analysis tab. Can you go on to the next one, the next slide? Okay. And then, can you go back one? Yeah, okay, that's it. And then our colleagues in Brussels maintain the FAS Europe website. And so this is a really great resource for you. It, as the EU sets all the rules and regulations that govern trade within its member states, there's a lot of EU standards. There are some standards that are set by the EU and some that are set by the member state. And so the EU website has a lot of this guide and information at the EU level that you can reference, which is a great starting point. And in addition to those kind of reports, the website is an excellent resource where you can see details on marketing standards, information on pesticide approvals, and changes in status for EU alerts. There's information on aflatoxin certifications, and which U.S. facilities are approved for export of key products. For instance, if you're exporting, particularly if you're exporting meat products. And then it also has information about U.S. agencies that are providing certificates and labeling requirements. I'll note that the EU provides marketing standards for fresh produce, which can also apply to imported products. So you'll want to check out the European Commission's regulation 543-2011, which lays down the detailed rules for the implementation of this standard. And it's sets it out in 10 product groups, including apples, citrus fruit, kiwi fruit, lettuce, peaches and nectarines, pears, strawberries, sweet peppers, table grapes, and tomatoes. Can you go on to the next slide, please? Okay, so the EU has this policy called Farm to Fork, and it's part of its Green Deal strategy. The Green Deal is the EU strategy for how it will meet its climate and environmental goals. And the Farm to Fork policy is how it plans to meet this in the agricultural sector. So essentially, it has a lot of targets that it wants to meet in order to achieve sustainable food production in the EU. And in this, there's a lot of threats and opportunities for U.S. agricultural products. And our office, particularly our colleagues in Brussels, we're heavily engaged. There's a lot of policies that are being developed out of this. So that's why you might want to keep an eye on the EU website before as you're exporting, because as these policies change and as rules change, you can reference these to make sure that the product that you're exporting is in line. But I would say, they're rolling out a lot of new policies that are just in comment period or in the final of the legislative stages on things like animal welfare, pesticides, deforestation-free supply chains, corporate due diligence, and packaging. So each of these could be their own presentation, so I'll just mention them, but you can see here on the slide the kind of objectives that they have, and you can contact our office if you have specific questions, or you can even ask in the Q&A session about any specific questions you have. But I would say one opportunity that we do have as the U.S. is that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for organic agricultural products, and also just in general, U.S. products have a good sustainability story. So if you're able to document that and kind of tell the story of your product, it could mean that you might have success in entering the market and growing the market for your product. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Sabina Lieberts. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Kirsten. When exporting to foreign countries,
you need me out of here? Huh?
Oops. Okay. So when exporting to foreign countries, exporters are often faced with trade barriers, and the EU and its member states are no exception to this. The most relevant barriers for your sectors are tariffs, maximum residue levels for pesticides, maximum levels of contaminants, and certification. Let's start with the tariffs. Next slide, please. Tariffs are harmonized in the EU, which means no matter where you enter the EU, whether it's in Germany or in the Netherlands or in Poland or Spain, you will always pay the same tariff for the same product. The EU member states within the bloc, of course, do not have to pay these tariffs. This is just when you enter the EU. They are harmonized and they vary a great deal. And the variation depends on the product you import. Sometimes the time of the year when you import. So usually if a product is grown or not grown in the EU, then usually the tariff is the same all over the year. Some products that are grown in the EU have higher tariffs during their production and marketing period than the rest of the year. And in some products, it also depends on the price of your product. That is the case if your product is subject to the entry price system, which are some of the fruit and vegetables. If you want to know what the tariff for your products is, you can go to the EU database. The link to that is on the bottom of this page. And you can search by product. And if you don't know what code your product has, because sometimes the HS codes of the US system and the CN codes of the EU system are not 100% the same, you can go to this browse the nomenclature button that's kind of in the bottom third of the slide on the left. And there you can search for your product by using kind of the term. Next is maximum residue levels for pesticide. Next slide, please. These maximum residue levels are also harmonized in the EU, and these values may differ from the corresponding value that the US applies for the same substance product combination. And of course, if sometimes you have a substance that is allowed in the US and it's not allowed in the EU, then of course you cannot have any residue of that substance on your product or it will be rejected. Additionally, those maximum residue levels in the EU are routinely reviewed every couple of years, so the MRLs may change over time. But again, the EU supplies a searchable database where you can check for substances that might be difficult. So those are those maximum residue levels that are applied by the EU and are set by the EU. Unfortunately, in addition to that, you sometimes have additional requirements by retail companies. The maximum residue levels by the EU are set in a scientific a process where you look at the daily intake and how low you can have the maximum residue level so that you do not jeopardize any health, but still can apply something. While the additional requirements by retail companies are mostly either a marketing tool or to make sure that they, like for contentious products, that they don't run into an issue. And because it's a marketing tool, sometimes they're definitely not scientific. And some retailers say that you can only have X amount of the maximum residue level. So if the maximum residue level is 100, you can only have 70 or sometimes as low as 30% of that level. Or they say you can only have 1 or 2 residues or 3, or depending on the product at all. And because these are retail standards and not some from the EU, unfortunately, we as the government do not have any way of interfering. It's in their contract, and it's basically either you sign or you sign not. And if you not sign, then sometimes they won't buy from you. So then next slide, please. So the maximum residue levels for pesticides is something that you normally apply on purpose, and you look up what's left, while contaminants are something that have not been applied on purpose, but they either occur naturally because of the soil a product grows in. An example of that would be cadmium in sunflower, or because some mold or insect infestation leaves some residue. And the most relevant for products from California is probably aflatoxin. Kirsten has mentioned this before, but one of the biggest products that the California exporters export are tree nuts, and there we often have issues with aflatoxin. And depending on your product, whether it's almond or peanuts or pistachios, there are different certification processes in place. And all of those you can find on the US-EU website that Kirsten has mentioned earlier. And I would strongly recommend to look at that before you export. Next slide, please. Then we come to certification. One of the big hurdles of doing business in the EU, both for people in the EU as well as for people who want to export to the EU, is bureaucracy. And certification is a good example of that. And we have to distinguish again here between mandatory certification and then certification required by retailers. The mandatory certification for some products include like sustainability certification according to the EU Renewable Energy Directive, that the acronym is RED, and there's a RED 1, 2, 3. And this governs all biomass used for bioenergy production. That is wood pellets, but it's also corn, wheat, soybean oil, anything that is used to produce biodiesel, bioethanol, sustainable aviation fuel, or anything bioenergy. If you want to sell this to the EU, you are required, I mean, theoretically, you can sell it without the sustainability certification, but you won't find a buyer. So in practice, you will have to have that certification. It has that different systems that you can use to get this certification. But the most important point of that for that certification is that you don't have any unintended land use change or intended land use change, and that you're not growing your product on former peat soil, you're not deforesting anything. So it's all about land use change. Totally separate from the RED is certification that may be required by retailers. And the most prominent example of that is Global Gap, which could be requested if you are exporting anything fruit and vegetables. So next slide, please. In addition to the barriers that I mentioned before, coming back to bureaucracy, there are a lot of rules and regulations that apply, for instance, for labeling. And these and others information can be found in the FAIRS report, the Food and Agricultural Import Regulations and Standard report that Kirsten also referenced. There is one big report that is put out by US-EU in Brussels, and that covers all of the regulations that apply to all of the EU alike. And then there is sometimes specific member state information that is in the country-specific FAIRS report that for us would be Germany, or for Martina, the Czech Republic. And these country-specific reports cover anything that is specific to the implementation. For instance, sometimes on the label you have to say, like if it's fish, for instance, it has been raised, caught, processed in a certain country. And then the country fairs report would state the exact wording in the local member state's language that you have to put on the label. It also includes additional regulations that a member state applies, and those are usually in areas that are not yet harmonized. One big example for Germany would be certain packaging and waste regulations, like the green dot that you may or may not have heard. And again, both the EU report as well as the country-specific reports you can find in the GAIN report database that Kirsten showed before. And with this, I will turn it to Antonia, who will explain you a little bit more about Germany. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sabine. We're already diving in a lot of details now. I will give you a bit broader overview of the German economy and agricultural trade. Germany is, despite being only as big as Montana, roughly, it surpassed Japan as the third largest economy in the world last year. However, the war in Ukraine, the energy crisis, and the continuing effects of the pandemic have left a mark on the German economy, and experts predict a slightly negative growth for 2023. But it's not only these recent crises that are to blame for this. The German economy is not recovering as fast as its European neighbors. There's some medium to long-term structural challenges which are kicking in right now, slowing down growth. Like, for example, constraints in the labor market, an aging capital stock, and a lack of an innovation-friendly climate. It takes around 120 days to start a company here compared to around 30 days in Italy or Greece, and construction permits take up to 50% longer than in other industrialized countries. Despite this internal challenges, Germany has more than 84 million of the world's wealthiest consumers and is by far the biggest market in the European Union. Looking at the time, I will probably skip the part about agriculture in Germany. If you have any questions on this, feel free to ask afterwards. If we take a look on the next slide on what Germany is not producing but importing from the US, we see that the number one import products are soybeans, which Germany needs for its as a protein source for its livestock sector. The number two top import product from the US are all kinds of tree nuts. In Germany, there's practically no commercial nut production because of unfavorable climate conditions. But nuts enjoy great popularity here among consumers, and there's high demand from the confectionery industry. As you can see in the next slide, US products already enjoy a remarkable market share, except for the hazelnut market, which is dominated by Turkey. The biggest competitors for the US are Spain in the almond market, Iran in the pistachio market, and Chile in the walnut market. Other than that, examples for specialty crops from the US that are among the top import products are hops, peanuts, prunes, and raisins. Overall, the US exported a total of $2.5 billion worth of agricultural products to Germany in 2022. This is equivalent to 1.2% of the total US agricultural exports. And now my marketing colleague will tell you a bit more about the market characteristics here.
Hi, everybody. So let's talk about the key market characteristics in Germany and start with positive characteristics. So as Antonia already mentioned, Germany is the biggest market in Europe and one of the highest income levels in the world. Also due to its central location in Europe and excellent transportation channels, Germany can act as a very good base for exporting products to other European countries. We also have been experiencing a growing demand for sustainable food ingredients and sustainable foods. Also, clean label foods such as free from and locally grown products attract more and more German consumers. Germany is also among the largest food important nations in the world, and it has a very large and well-developed food processing industry, which requires a wide range of ingredients from low-value unprocessed foods to high-value, highly processed ingredients. And I also have to say that in the last few years, American style is becoming increasingly popular among the German population, especially the younger generations. And overall, the United States has a high reputation as a reliable supplier of food in terms of availability, delivery, and quality. Unfortunately, of course, not everything is peaches and cream, and we have some negative sides, or I would say challenges in the market, which, first of all, German market is very price-oriented. German consumers demand high quality for low prices. And on top of that, on top of being a price-driven market, listing fees, which have to be paid to German retailers, sometimes significantly limit the introduction options for new US brands and US products. As for sustainability, private sector sustainability standards can act as barriers to trade, and also the absence of very strong and unified US sustainability message sometimes leads to misconceptions. So not all German consumers are aware of the history of sustainability of American products. So as my colleague Sabina also mentioned, if you are able to highlight and emphasize the sustainability of your products, that would definitely have a positive impact and be more attractive to German consumers. Next challenge is also, as Kirsten and Sabine already mentioned, would be one of the biggest problems for US exporters are facing is the competition from tariff-free products from other European Union member states. Also, non-tariff barriers such as phytosanitary restrictions and traceability requirements, they certainly can make export into Germany complicated. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's move to market summary and current trends. As I already said, Germany is by far the biggest market for food and beverages in the European Union, and the second largest importer and the third largest exporter of consumer-oriented agricultural products worldwide. Germany most definitely represents the important European market for foreign producers. As for the German market, consolidation, market situation, strong competition, and low prices are definitely the key characteristics here. So when we're talking about consolidation and saturation, here I mean that the top 5 retail groups, for example, together they account for roughly 75% of the total market if we're talking about the retail network, and the German market is mostly dominated by domestic players, which is particularly true for big supermarkets, discounters, and hypermarkets. And German consumers overall are very particular about what they like and what they don't like in their grocery retailers, and therefore these grocery retail chains, they have a very strong base of loyal customers. Although, as I said, that the 5 retailers dominate the market basically altogether, but however, the growth of discounters is, we see it's slightly slowing because of market saturation and the continuing trends towards people are tending to shop more in supermarket, like smaller supermarkets, which have more convenient locations, especially in bigger cities. As urbanization is growing, consumers' lifestyles are changing, and people more and more seek convenience and proximity when they're doing their grocery shopping, rather than the price sometimes. So to counter this process, the discounters are also attempting to adapt and expand their product range and differentiation. Additionally, they're focusing more on quality and choice rather than the price, and introducing more premium products and convenience foods. And when we're talking about competition, as I said, Germany is a very price-driven market and has the lowest food prices in Europe. For example, in 2022, German citizens spent only 11.1% of their income on food and beverages, which is relatively low. And all the large grocery retailers in Germany are mainly driven by competition between each other. They are very well established and compete mostly on price, outlet networks, and consumer trust. The share, although German consumers rely more on price, as I said, like they choose the products based on their price first of all, but the share of consumers who are willing to pay more for quality products is definitely increasing. There is also a growing share of consumers who view their purchasing decisions as lifestyle statements. For example, non-GMO, vegetarian, vegan diets, and they also more and more demand traceability and information about production methods, sustainability, etc. Ethnic foods, beauty and superfoods, clean label, free from products, and locally grown are attracting more and more German consumers. When we're talking about top market trends, it's worth mentioning that Germany has experienced a continuous increase in demand for organic food. Although during the COVID times, when organic sales in Germany really were going through the roof,
I believe she froze. Let's just give it a minute to see if she can get reconnected. Unless did one of the other team members... Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. That didn't take too long. Sorry about that. But however, the war in Ukraine, rising inflation, and the food pricing, the increasing food prices, they definitely led to uncertainty and buying restraint among the customers. Especially organic products are normally expensive, and they're particularly affected by these, and they are demonstrating a clear drop in sales. And unfortunately, this trend is likely to continue in the coming. I will try to keep my camera off. Maybe that is influencing something, if you don't mind. As I was saying, the organic products are unfortunately seeing a bit of a drop in sales due to inflation and higher food prices. So e-commerce is, however, becoming more and more important and more popular. Online supermarkets are really flooding the market in Germany's major cities, offering food at prices that strongly competes with those in traditional supermarkets. Also, sustainable and healthy, convenient foods are on the rise. For example, food labeling with special seals is very common in Germany and has a large impact on the industry. Various regional, organic, sustainable, and animal welfare labels have been introduced or are being discussed in Germany, and most companies have a sustainability strategy that demonstrates sustainability in the entire chain, from cultivation all the way through to the food processing. Innovative manufacturing and processing technologies also bring new products to the market and give good old products a new taste. For example, such products as bottled cold brew coffee, vegan and meat alternatives are also on the rise, and of course these products are especially popular among younger Germans. And also healthy to-go products and snacks. Wellness, functional food products are becoming very popular. Cooking boxes also have skyrocketed since the beginning of COVID pandemic, and this trend continues to grow. This market continues to grow. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Oh, can we go one slide back? Okay, I'll just okay, two more slides back, but I'll just start and I'll make it quick because looking at the time, we're running out. So USDA endorses 22 trade shows worldwide. 4 of them are in Germany alone. And in fact, Germany hosts many of the world's largest trade shows. Anuga is together with Gulfood in Dubai and Cial in Paris, the largest show and most important food show in the world. And actually the one with the largest US presence of US exhibitors. For example, at the last show in October 23, we had 188 US exhibitors. This makes the show an excellent location for US exporters to promote their products, to get in touch with potential business partners, buyers, to meet with FAS Berlin, and of course other European offices from FAS, and to launch new products. In case you're wondering, the show mainly focuses on consumer-oriented products. And then we have other endorsed trade shows, one which focuses on ingredients, that will be Food Ingredients Europe and Frankfurt. Happened in November. Then the largest organic show in the world, that's Biofach in Nuremberg in February, so it's coming up. And the show for fresh produce, Fruit Logistica, also coming up in February here in Berlin. Yeah, when I say endorsed by USDA, what that means is that we provide a USA pavilion to exhibitors, a unified look, services at the show, as well as exposure to press and social media, for example, with a walkthrough by the ambassador or consul general of the specific region. Moving, yeah, okay, we're at the right slide. So we also have a significant presence at other non-endorsed shows, such as Snacks and Sweets, which is ISM in Cologne, Pro Wine in Düsseldorf, Bar Convent, Braubeviale, Drink Tech. Those are about beer and brewing and hops. And we usually try to facilitate a walkthrough with the principal at these shows as well, but we do not have our own booth and on-the-spot service. Sometimes cooperators take on the responsibility, such as, for a Bar Convent, it would be the Distilled Spirits Council. Moving on to the next slide. When I said we would help US exhibitors with exposure on social media, this is what I mean. So we have developed a common brand together with posts in the European Union that launched in November 22. Delicious has 2 components which aim to amplify and complement the work of cooperators in the market. The first is the logo for use by posts and cooperators in campaigns and at trade shows as they see appropriate. And in fact, the FAS Delicious trade show booth debuted at Anuga in 2021. The second is an English language digital media platform and campaign that aims to increase demand for US food and agricultural products in Europe by dispelling commonly misheld conceptions. And the campaign includes B2B and B2C engagement. Our objective is to communicate attributes like quality, versatility, sustainability in a way that fit social media. Yeah, we also try to incorporate a know your farmer angle to our stories when appropriate. And on that, we have worked with the Sustainability Alliance on a couple of posts and on a social media takeover. Yeah, we currently have delicious Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. And if we move on to the next slide, there's where you can find us. And please reach out to FS Berlin if you're interested in using the logo in a campaign, and we can provide you with the information and materials. And next,
I think this
Martina.
is the point where Martina would now go.
Yeah, hello everyone from Prague. I'm Martina. I'm the marketing specialist working at the U.S. Embassy at Prague, being covered by Foreign Agriculture Service office in
Martina,
Berlin.
you're on mute.
I'm not. I am not. I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Martina.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, sorry, but the icon mute was I was supposed to be unmuted. So I'm based in Prague. I'm the marketing specialist, responsible for particularly marketing outreach and activities both in the Czech Republic and the Slovak Republic. The Czech Republic has been one of European Union member states since 2004. However, we keep our own currency, Czech crown, so no conversion to euro has happened yet. The population of the country is 10.7 million. The last year in 2023 was the country was hit by unprecedentedly high inflation, which we have not witnessed for last 30 years. So, of course, it had a negative impact on consumers' behavior and shopping patterns as well. Next slide, please. The market is a medium-sized, open export-driven economy. It's a relatively small market. However, we are conveniently located in the Central Europe, and there are strong connections with the neighboring countries, especially with Germany. So more than 70 or 75% of international trade is with Germany. And also the key retail players are German or British companies. There has been growing demand for high quality food products. However, as mentioned before, the last year inflation sort of stopped or decreased that trend, but now we are getting back to normal. So we certainly hope that the modern trends and demand for high quality food products will be on increase again. The country is the landlocked country with climate limits, so there is a need to import a lot of tropical fruits, tree nuts, wine, particularly red wine. Tree nuts actually is the commodity that is actually on the top list of U.S. agriculture imports to the Czech Republic. As Ksenia mentioned, not only Germany, but the Czech Republic also is a very price-sensitive market, and there is a strong competition from other EU member states. So and there's also lack of many US brands awareness. So if we want to get some products listed in retail, for example, it certainly requires some investments into marketing activities or projects. Also, due to the market size, many local importers prefer smaller value orders. However, again, there are many distributors that cover both the Czech and the Slovak market, so both countries can be easily managed by one distributor located in Prague, for example. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, major retail players are German or British large groups. As far as the recent market trends, there has been a strong trend for online shopping, for food and home delivery becoming very popular, especially during the pandemic years, but the trend is still growing, although not that fast as 2 years ago. Unique cooking and revealing gastro tips supported on social media and on TVs are very popular. A lot of cooking shows on TV are very popular and watched by many Czechs. And as far as the best prospects for specialty food, as mentioned before, dried nuts, especially almonds, pistachios, and walnuts are imported from the US, are on the Czech market. And although they are not always, from a statistics standpoint, reported as the import from the US, but from Germany, because as mentioned before, there are some transshipments and close trade relations with the German suppliers. Almonds are imported almost exclusively from California, and they sell well in retail outlets, especially in hypermarkets. And consumption and popularity of California wine is on the rise among Czech consumers. FAS Prague works closely with the key Czech importer company that specializes in California wines, and they have an e-shop covering not only the Czech market but other EU countries as well, and their business has been growing and very successful. And the next slide, please, or the last one. This is just some statistics from the last year. The country imported agricultural products worth more than 13 billion of US dollars. More than 90% of these originated from other EU member states. And you can also see the list of top 10 US consumer-oriented products being imported from the United States. So that's all from Prague, and have a good day.
Thanks, thanks, Martina and team. With that, we have our contact information here, but also we wanted to open it up to see if there were any questions from the group to clarify anything to clarify or expand on anything. Thanks. I don't see any hands. So I'm going, sorry, were there any questions from the group? I just realized, I see there's one in the chat. What are the best ways to promote? So Okay, so do you mean like how to promote your product in the market, like in terms of how to enter, or once you're in the market, what are the best ways to promote your product?
I'll just turn this on. It's a little easier. So, yeah, I was thinking just I know a bit more about the German market than the Czech market, so it seems like it's a
Okay.
little more complicated to get in there. So like you're initially when you're launching a brand in, say, the Czech Republic, what are some of the most effective ways to promote your brand or to get your message out there?
Martina, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Well, we actually usually work like trying to increase awareness about U.S. Food products, and so trying to identify the best prospects. So it really depends on a specific product. So, for example, with the wines, as mentioned before, we have been working very closely with the importer. With nuts, it would be a different strategy, of course. So we usually don't promote a specific brand, but we are trying to educate the consumers about high quality of U.S. foods, also teaching them that U.S. High quality products are can be used for fine dining and for fine dining food service, for example, trying to combine them in unusual ways. So that's how we try to just educate the market and influence consumers' behavior and shopping patterns. But of course, it's like a long run. It doesn't just happen overnight.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I also see in the chat, are there resources to get help on novel foods? Yes. We can, we can put resources in the chat. And also, if you want to send us at agberlin.usda.gov, we will be able to send you some reports. But there is the European Food Safety Association has resources, as well as I think our office in Brussels also has some reports on that topic. There's another one in the chat that says, who are the top retailers for walnuts in the Czech Republic? So that would be a question for you, Martina.
Is it about retail? Sorry, I don't see the
question. The top retailers. Retail.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the German company Rewe. Then we have a Dutch company Ahold, and we have there used to be Interspar, but they actually recently they were the Austrian company, but they recently left the country. There is a British group, Tesco, as well. So those would be the key, and Lidl, of course. And so those are the key retail players on the Czech market.
With regards to, I think there was another, I'm missing the chat from when I left, but I think that there was a question on regenerative agriculture. And yes, there definitely is, particularly in Germany, there is a push for sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture. Those are topics that that are trending throughout the European Union, and I would say specifically in countries like Germany, maybe more so than the Czech Republic. I don't know, Sabina, if you would want to expand on anything.
Yes,
with regards
I think I would second what Kirsten said. When it comes to specifically regenerative agriculture, not everybody in Germany knows what that term means and where the difference is between regenerative agriculture and sustainability, but it's definitely something that does resonate when you're promoting organic products. And with a lot of products also, you will never have something that will resonate with everyone, but you have to find your niche, and there's definitely one for regenerative agriculture. Well, yeah.
Okay, thanks. And then the next question was, are there trends in importing to one EU country and then selling to several or more countries specific? I would say yes. So the big ports in Europe are Hamburg, which is in Germany, Hamburg and Bremerhaven in Germany, Antwerp in Belgium, and the huge one is Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And in particular, in the Netherlands and in Germany, well, actually in all three of those, a lot of that product stays in the markets, but a lot of it is also transshipped or re-exported to other EU member states. So that's also sometimes why it makes it tricky to, if you're looking at trade numbers online, to see where exactly some of those exports are going once it reaches the European port. And Sabina, did you want to add anything to that, or?
Yes, as Martina mentioned, a lot of the major retailers in Germany are also catering for other markets. So if you manage to get a contract with Rewe, Lidl, Aldi, and so on, they will very likely also put that product into other markets. Of course, that would only work if you have sufficient volumes, not if you're like a smaller exporter.
Yeah, and on I know that some of the Dutch, like Albert Heijn is one of the big Dutch ones. So if you would have a contract with them, it would be something similar. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well, please always feel free to reach out to us again at agberlin@usda.gov, or you could do state.gov, and we're happy to help. Matt will work with Celia to get you some of those resources on novel foods to answer your question. Thanks.